You are now listening to the Hot
Ladies
Take
and gentlemen,
Hot
welcome
Box.
to another Monday Night Raw recap. This is for the March 25th, 2024 edition. I'm going to talk about everything that went down during this episode. If you are a fan of content just like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitter at the link in the description, and let us know what you think about last night's episode in the comments. So right now, we are going to get right into it. We open up with the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, coming out, taking more shots at Roman Reigns, letting him know that he hates him, which, for obvious reasons, him screwing him out of the title last year, telling Roman that he's not just some fraud that promises things that he can't live up to or can't keep any of these promises. He talks about bachelor parties that he's paying for, weddings that he's going to be the best man in, a kid's birthday party that he promised to go to that he's going to go to. He's just driving home the point that he is a man of the people. He is the people's champion, for lack of a better word. And he was chosen by the people. The We Want Cody movement, the Cody crybabies, as The Rock would call them. He was chosen by them. And he is further just driving home the point that I am going to be a champion that's here every week. I act like the champion now because the champion is never here. So he's just further driving home that difference between him and Roman Reigns. And I thought it was a good promo. When Cody is serious, it's much more believable, and you can get behind it as opposed to the joking about where he's going to put the nuggets and the stuff like that early on during this saga or feud between them and the bloodline. It's gotten much more real, and it continues to get real as the show goes on, but he asks everyone to point up to the WrestleMania sign. He does the old Bullet Club sort of inside baseball, little signifier to his old friends over in AEW. And then he proclaims he's going to beat the final boss. He's going to beat, and before he can even really get out Roman Reigns, The Rock's music hits. And this was awesome because this was completely unexpected. He was not scheduled to be there. There was no, I wasn't really online yesterday all day, but there wasn't really any rumors that he was going to be there. He kind of just showed up. For me, I can only speak personally as from watching it. It was awesome because the past couple of times The Rock had secretly or was a surprise guest. It had the dots had been connected for me online during the day that he was going to be there. Especially the one in Denver. He was at College Game Day, and then there was one I think in California when he showed up on Raw. This one was just so much sweeter, so much better because I just was not expecting it, and it was perfect. He shows up, he's got the whole, electric entrance and the light shining on him, and the final boss popping up in the background now, but it was awesome. He comes out, they don't say a word to each other, or, on the mic, and it's just the crowd's going nuts. They're staring at each other, and The Rock leans in, and from the internet detectives I've seen, he kind of leans in and says, "Tonight, I'm going to make you bleed." And then he walks away, and that's it. That's the end of that segment, and we're just kind of forced to be like, what the hell just happened? Go to commercial, come back. They talk about it for a little bit. Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. Then they send it back to Jackie Redmond. Sees The Rock coming through the curtain. Says, "Hey, Rock, what'd you say? What'd you say to Cody Rhodes out there? What did you whisper to him?" And he says, "Go ask Cody Rhodes what I said." And that's it. Walks off. Absolute badass. Then we get Ricochet versus JD McDonagh, which actually turned out to be a pretty good match. I'm sure you've seen online the wild sequence of the sort of like arm drag into a Canadian Destroyer, which was nuts. If you haven't seen it, I would go try and find that online. If I find a clip while making this video, I'll put it on here. But it's obvious to me that Ricochet and honestly JD McDonagh are great in the ring. This was a really good match. It's a shame that Ricochet kind of just hangs out in that mid-card area of each Monday Night Raw where he's in these somewhat filler matches, but they're all bangers. They're all good. And JD McDonagh is one of the best at selling moves in all of WWE at this point. So this match was pretty good. In the end, Ricochet was able to persevere through all the interference from Dom Mysterio. He hits a shooting star press to a standing JD McDonagh, which, again, wild, but from these guys in this match, it is to be expected because this was an absolute banger. Next, it was time for CM Punk. We are in Chicago, and there's never a bad time to hear what CM Punk has to say on the matters at hand. He pretty much goes out and addresses everyone who's been taking little subliminal or non-subliminal shots at him. Roman Reigns telling him he's coming down the mountain while CM Punk's climbing back up that mountain. Seth Rollins laughing at his injury, and he's saying, well, you are also injury-ridden yourself. Also mentions The Rock, saying he's too scared to box with God. Then he gets to Drew McIntyre, says, hey, man, I don't perpetually live on the internet. I'm not here to troll you. I'm not here to have a troll fest. I'm here to face you man-to-man, and let's handle it inside the ring. Let's talk about it, basically, because he's got an arm brace on, and then Drew McIntyre's music hits. CM Punk says, turn the stupid song off. Nobody wants to listen to it, which gets a huge pop. Tells him to get his bitch ass in here. CM Punk's obviously fired up. Drew's been taking shots at him on Instagram, Twitter, anything you could imagine for the past 2 months since CM Punk got hurt at the Royal Rumble, and has been laughing about it, making t-shirts about it, kind of just egging him on and setting up that future feud that is going to be incredible, feed those families that we all talk about later on in the summer, probably towards SummerSlam. Those two are going to be locked in a battle and a feud. Maybe even Seth Rollins will be somehow involved, who knows, but all three of these guys are on a collision course, and it's only a matter of time. I could sit here and go through this whole segment of what they talk about, the mentioning of the Chosen One, and CM Punk saying, well, who chose you? Name the guy who chose you, which is Vince McMahon. So you obviously can't say that. But I would, if I were you, this is one of the segments, you got to go back and watch it. Find it on YouTube. People have posted it on Twitter. You got to just find it somehow. This is quintessential, just perfection when it comes to promotion on the mic, just shit talking between guys who really don't like each other. And those two, which is Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, it seems don't like each other. And then later on, you'll see Seth Rollins comes out. But the whole time, Drew's sitting on the announce table. He's ripping his shirt off. He's got the different shirts on that he's shitting on CM Punk. Drew has been the perfect heel since he turned. It has been incredible. I've loved everything about this heel run, and I am truly rooting for him to win the world title at WrestleMania. This segment just overall was great. They wanted him to be the referee. He made like a joke mention of it, and then he was like, no, I'm actually not going to. And he's like, oh, your counting arm. He's got his counting arm's hurt, and he counts with the other arm. They were just, he kind of talked himself into it, and then he's like, nah, I'll be the commentator for the match. He eventually leaves the ring, CM Punk. Drew's pissed. He's still talking shit to him. And then he gets super kicked by Seth Rollins as he's walking into the ring. Kind of a play on how Drew was saying Seth is distracted by the Night One and the Bloodline and all that. In the same sense, you could say Drew is distracted by CM Punk and what's going on with him and him coming back and always talking shit about him on Twitter. So this is a nice little dichotomy, a nice little interaction, just this whole just feud and everything going on. There's so many layers to everything that's going on heading into WrestleMania. Next, we get Ivy Nile versus Candice LeRae, and this is another filler. They're trying to drive home the fact that Candice LeRae is not a good person. She's a bad person, trying to turn Indy Hartwell into a bad person as well. She continues to take shots at Maxine Dupree. She wins this by kind of faking a knee injury and just doing all sorts of heel stuff, just driving home the fact that she's a heel. But she gets the win, and then they get out of there. Next, we get DIY versus The New Day with R-Truth, Awesome Truth, and The Miz on commentary. It was funny. The match wasn't bad, but this was, in a sense, all a setup for the Judgment Day, Damian Priest, all of them to come down and kind of just beat the shit out of everybody involved in this match. I forgot to mention that right before this match, there was a segment with DIY and Awesome Truth, all these people talking in the back, and in the background, you could see Paul Heyman talking to Drew McIntyre, kind of sneakily in the background, and that was kind of ominous, kind of let it... just it was like, hey, what's going on there? So that kind of was in the back of my head while watching this entire time. And it's just a little sneaky preview of what could happen later on. Again, this match was just kind of a destruction of everybody involved in that WrestleMania ladder match from the Raw side, kind of proclaiming dominance, letting them know who runs the tag team division, the Judgment Day. Next, we got a backstage little segment / interview with Jackie Redmond and Cody Rhodes, asking him, hey, what did The Rock say to you earlier on? And he says he'd rather not repeat it, but it is a promise that he can't keep, which we shall see if that's the case. Then we got some Gunther backstage interview where he kind of just shits on Sami Zayn, which is expected. Really has no respect for Sami Zayn, does not respect him as an opponent, and continues to drive that home. Then we got Andrade versus Giovanni Vinci. It was a solid match. I've enjoyed having Andrade back. Andrade obviously picks up the W here. It was to be expected. This is such a filler match. I believe he was supposed to fight Ivar, but Ivar was not medically cleared or something along those lines. So who knows what's going on with that. But poor Giovanni Vinci got sent in to do the job, and he did it well. Next, we got a Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch promo. Rhea Ripley comes out, starts taking shots at Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch comes out, starts taking shots at her. Rhea takes a shot at Becky's daughter. Becky starts getting all worked up and crying about how her father never met her daughter. They were mentioning how Rhea could post a picture online and all these freaks would eat it up. And Becky says, you use your body to promote yourself. I let my in-ring work do the talking, and my work here in the WWE do the talking. So it's a nice little beef that they have going on back and forth. This feud has desperately been needing a little heat behind it. It's been kind of Becky wrestling Nia, wrestling Liv, just a bunch of different stuff instead of these two kind of just hating each other and getting into this sort of war of the words, which we need more of it. I assume we'll get more of it in the finale kind of before WrestleMania. So this was nice. It ends with Dom getting absolutely rocked with a right hand from Becky, and if you see the slow-mo of it, he legitimately got rocked. Like, this was a real punch that Becky hit him with. He sold it incredibly. I don't think he needed to sell it all that much. And then Becky and Rhea get into an absolute brawl, which I think Raw's been missing some of these out-of-control brawls. We haven't seen a lot of this as of recent. I mean, obviously it's always a part of it, but Cody, and Shinsuke were doing a thing for a while. Cody and Brock was walking around beating the shit out of him, but the women's matches and some of the bigger matches needed a little bit more heat behind them to kind of get us excited for WrestleMania. We already were, but you can never get too excited for something. Then we got a Sami Zayn and Chad Gable have kind of linked up. Chad Gable is somewhat coaching Sami Zayn, so maybe Sami Zayn is going to join the Alpha Academy. No, I'm just kidding, but he is kind of giving him the wisdom and telling him how he's going wrong, and you're thinking of this wrong. And Chad Gable is on his side. He's rooting for him. He's trying to help him out. He's got his best interests at heart. They just want their common goal. They've linked up to take down Gunther. So he's gonna try and give him all the wisdom he can to take Gunther down. But in this one, we got Bronson Reed, Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn comes up short in this match due to a little bit of a distraction / interruption from Gunther coming out onto the stage. Just enough to have Sami Zayn draw his focus away. Then he gets hit with that running senton, that tsunami. He gets hit with all that shit. Big win for Bronson Reed. Sami Zayn gets pinned under 2 weeks away from a huge match with Gunther at WrestleMania. So I don't think this is the end-all, be-all, the ultimate decider, but in my mind, I had always thought Gunther was retaining, and this is only just driving that home. I don't think Sami Zayn is the one to dethrone Gunther's historic Intercontinental Championship run. And they even had another backstage segment after this match to Chad Gable kind of telling Sami Zayn what he did wrong. He let the distractions get to him. He's thinking about all the wrong stuff and not focusing on the tasks at hand, and he's got to change his mindset. And it just kind of shows you. I'm glad that they gave Chad Gable something to kind of do heading into WrestleMania, because a lot of people, including myself, thought it should have been him who was the one to go to WrestleMania and maybe dethrone Gunther. But to me, it's pretty obvious that the WWE does not want to take the belt off Gunther at this time. So, and the next best thing is to kind of involve him in this match somehow. Just give him something to do and just add a little bit, another wrinkle, another layer of excitement heading into WrestleMania. Next, we got a little preview in the back with Jey Uso and Seth Rollins. Seth's kind of saying, hey, man, something doesn't feel right. Something's up. Me and Cody got your back in case anything goes on out there. Yeet. Lets him know that he's riding with him. But then Seth turns away towards the camera and kind of this concerned. I don't know if it's what kind of look was going on there. Maybe he knew what was going to happen. I don't know. I'm still thinking Seth. There's something up with Seth and what's been going on. He's wearing a lot of black clothes recently. I don't know if that's a foreshadowing thing. I'm not so sure about that. But I would just say that it doesn't make sense for Seth to be completely behind Cody after the beef that they had earlier in the year and him begging Cody to face him at WrestleMania and then kind of hopping right on his team to kind of help him after Cody was the one who had beaten him countless amounts of times, 3-0 on TV and then 22 or 23-0 off screen. It just doesn't make sense to me for Seth to be kind of riding with Cody or supporting him 100%. I get he doesn't like the bloodline, doesn't like Roman Reigns, but I don't know. Something's just not sitting well with me. We get main event Jey Uso in the main event against Shinsuke Nakamura. This match had all sorts of interference. Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa come down. Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins meet him. They start beating them up. Drew McIntyre comes out, hits the Future Shock on Seth Rollins outside, right around the ring. So there's all sorts of chaos going on around it. In the end, Jey Uso hits the spear. He gets the W. But that's not it, ladies and gentlemen. There's still a good 8 minutes. I look at the clock and I'm like, there is still a good amount of time here. They show Cody Rhodes in the back fighting with Jimmy Uso. He basically punches him until he runs out of the building, turns around, then Solo Sikoa meets him in the back. Cody handles that right away, but then the final boss shows up. The Rock starts beating the absolute shit out of Cody Rhodes all throughout this backstage area and throwing tools at him, throwing trash cans at him, bouncing his head up against, storage containers and doors and tables and anything you could imagine. And then they eventually go outside. The whole time he's talking shit, too, letting him know, you think I was just going to let you talk trash about The Rock these last 2 weeks? He takes him outside. He's throwing him up against the tour bus. He's holding his face, telling the crowd, "This is your hero. This is that." Like, this is exactly what I want from pro wrestling. This is what you all should be wanting. This is real pro wrestling angles, real heat, real heel shit. This is what anyone could ask for. When I was a kid, and I didn't live through the Attitude Era, but I remember days when Edge was slapping John Cena's dad across the face, or when they were throwing each other, or when Edge got thrown into the Long Island Sound, or when Triple H and showed up at Randy Orton's house, that kind of stuff. That we're starting to see a little bit more of that in this build-up. Even the LA Knight showing up to AJ Styles' house like that. But this had a whole nother level of heat to it, especially with it being The Rock. Cody Rhodes, you haven't seen him this beaten down throughout this whole thing, and this just added a whole nother level of just hatred and disgust. I'm sure if I was a kid right now, and Cody Rhodes would probably be, because when you're a kid, you love all the baby faces. Cody Rhodes they're probably distraught. Kids were probably heartbroken last night watching this happen. And all of us adults are kind of like, wow, look at The Rock. This is fucking awesome. So this is exactly what you can ask for. There's a little bit of something for everyone in this. The Rock says it did not have to be like this, but now it is like this. Talking to Mama Rhodes, saying, "Mama Rhodes, look at your boy." And after throwing him off the bus enough times, Cody's bleeding, and that's another thing that I love, and that I dislike about AEW, but love about WWE is AEW uses blood it seems like all the time. I've watched these matches where there's these war game stuff, and they're landing on spikes and stuff like that. But with WWE, it's kind of very rare that blood gets introduced, and when it does, it feels like it means more, and that's honestly how it's supposed to be used. They show Cody leaning up against the bus, struggling. Blood all over his face, slapping him, and then he pulls out the weight belt that he has underneath the shirt, and it has the Mama Rhodes custom belt with the Brahma Bull on it. Just another incredible little add-on. Takes his hand, rubs his face all over Cody's blood, and then rubs it on the belt, just like he said he would. Picks him up, lets him know that your dad talked about hard times. He knows nothing. You know nothing about hard times. I'm going to show you what hard times are all about. And it gets blurred out, but you can see him say, "This is what happens when you fuck with the final boss," and just goes to show you that there's really no rules for The Rock, which I am 100% in support of. The show ends with a close-up on The Rock and him leaning over a just beaten down and destroyed Cody Rhodes, saying, "Mama Rhodes, look at your son. It didn't have to be like this, but it is." And that's it. Like, that's the end of one of the best Raws I've seen in a while, especially the ending. It's just, that was an Attitude Era level ending, and I've gone back and watched some of those shows, and it felt like, wow, like how lucky would I be to be living during a time like that? And last night was one of them where I felt like a little kid watching it. It's just shit just kept happening. And to see The Rock kind of come back and just insert himself in this and elevate these segments to a level that we didn't even think they could be elevated to. Pete, there was people out there, and the Cody fans and the crybabies and all that, saying that we don't need The Rock. So people like Seth Rollins, we don't need The Rock. We're fine without him. And maybe you could argue you don't need him, but to say that he isn't elevating this, or that he hasn't made this WrestleMania season better, or that he is washed, or all the things, the crazy shit that people were saying about The Rock, you're all delusional. It's just blasphemy, because he has added this thing is to a whole new level now. A whole new level. He's gone heel. He's doing the most dastardly, dirty stuff. He's saying the craziest shit, and you couldn't ask for more. It really has added a whole new level of heat and just intensity to this night 1 main event and night 2, because now who knows what the Roman and they're going to be on Raw next week. They're going to have, I'm sure, a couple more face-offs. Cody's probably going to go on some sort of rampage in the near future. I can't wait to see how they respond to this and what happens. I really could probably sit here and talk about this for 30 minutes, but this is just a recap, and I will leave you with that, ladies and gentlemen. This was the March 25th edition of Monday Night Raw. My name is Matt McSweeney. This has been the Hot Take Hot Box. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching a video with no video. I appreciate you very much. Hoping to get video at some point in the near future, but I try it and it looks like trash, and who wants to see my face anyway? But again, thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel. Like this video if you like stuff like this. Comment your thoughts on what you think. If you think The Rock is a piece of trash, then let me know in the comments, and give us a follow on Twitter. I will post all of that in the description. And again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And until next time.
You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot Box.